tell him about the time we faced doom.
All right. Well, as I remember.
At Avenger headquarters.
Because united, the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel Evolution Show with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Strout.
Good to see you, lads. Good to see you. A little bit earlier than normal this week. Jarian, I understand you're going away on holiday.
Yep. Family vacation. First one in a long time. So sorry to move days, but it's long overdue.
I can't believe it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. How inconsiderate that you have to put everybody out by going on holiday. That's brilliant, mate. That's brilliant. Whereabouts are you going?
We are going to the Gulf Shores in Alabama.
Ooh.
So
That sounds interesting. Have you ever been there before?
I've been to Alabama before, but not to the Gulf Shores that I can remember. So going to be down there for about a week. My sister, who's stationed at an Air Force base that we were stationed at when we were kids, is stationed there now. So we're going to meet up with her, my brother-in-law, and my nephew as well for a couple of days. So about 10 of us are going down for the trip. So it should be a fun time.
Ah, brilliant. That sounds excellent, mate. Alex, how are you with your Miss Marvel hat on?
I'm doing pretty good. I saw this hat like in the episode of Miss Marvel, and I was like, man, I've got that same exact hat. Like I have to wear it during this podcast. So
Yeah,
I think
that's
Jimmy's
great.
joining us. I think that's him saying lads. And then the comment here, there's something on your head.
Yeah, that is Jamie. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Well, we're going to get into Miss Marvel and her hat in a little while. But yeah, I mean, speaking of holidays, and I should mention, I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Harry yesterday, meeting Monty, our I guess regular guest host, and he was over in the UK, over in London, on a trip, and a little bypass trip after going to a wedding. And so me and my family went into London and met Monty, and it was great. It was great. You know, it was funny on the way there. My sons kept asking me questions. They were like, how old is Monty? And what does he do for a living? And where does he live? And blah, 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 blah. And they kept asking me all these personal questions. Like, well, I know he really likes Marvel. and I said to him, this would be really interesting to see if we get on without we barely spoke about Marvel, to be totally honest. So it was great to see that we actually got on without talking about Marvel. But I think that's kind of the way I work with my business is kind of like, I believe I will work with people that believe what I believe. And it's the same with this, like I dare say if either any of us met in real life, we would get on without talking about Marvel because we work with people who are the same type of people, and yes, okay, we speak about our common ground being Marvel, but actually we're probably quite, we'd get on really well in real life anyway without Marvel, so but it was great to meet Monty, and that's one off my list. I sort of want to go around and meet loads of people now. It's like brilliant. I want to just meet up with everybody. Maybe we should arrange a group meeting. Go on, Alex. Sorry.
I was just gonna say you can always use this as an excuse to travel, right? Like you can be like, oh yeah, like we got to go meet other people. I mean, we need to go do some traveling, like so.
I'm gonna start inviting people from really like exotic locations to the group. But no, that was fantastic. So yeah, I mean, obviously, guys, anybody that's listening, drop your theories, drop your comments on anything that we're talking about. I do want to show something off before we start talking about the MCU because it's well worth it. But I went to the store the other day to buy one Funko. It wasn't for me. I was buying a present. One Funko, and I came out spending like £90 on different things. So it was a bit of a nightmare, really, because I was sort of like, I need to leave now, otherwise I'm going to keep spending money. But I bought a Deadpool Funko. He's thumbs
Nice.
up.
I like that one.
Well, my wife loves the Deadpool Funkos. There's a couple in the background. You might be able to see him. And she saw that one. She was like, I really like him. I was like, oh, go on, and I'll buy him that one. And then just as I was about to leave, I saw this hiding on the top shelf. And it's
such an awesome Civil War set.
How good is that? The Spider-Man with the shield and the Hawkeye. The Hawkeye was what made me go, I'm buying that. I mean, just incredible. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then we was just walking out the door, and one of our favourite games, I don't know if you've ever heard of Dobble. You ever heard of Dobble before, either of you two? Card game called Dobble.
I think so.
They've got Marvel Dobble, right? So what this game is, that if you can see it on the video, can you see it's got like little faces, and then there's like Mjolnir up there, and then there's Loki's scepter there. It's basically like Snap, yeah, but with these cards. So each card has got different pictures printed on it, and every card has got one picture that's the same. So you pull over the card, and then whoever shouts out the thing gets to take the card, and it's like whoever gets the most cards at the end wins. But Dobble is our favourite game, and there was a Marvel Dobble, and my wife went, "There's Marvel Dobble." I was like, "For God's sake, I need to leave this shop." It's funny.
Man, they put all that stuff right by the door to get you, don't they? Right before you leave.
They did that game. That Dobble was behind the till. I better have that then. Yeah, let's go. But yeah, brilliant. So that was great.
Here's a comment from the chat. You know, that's so awesome. I was so happy when I saw you guys got to meet up with the group. So yeah, I saw both you and Barb got to meet up with Monty, and that's really great to see that.
Yeah, that's Brenda there. So hi, Brenda. How you doing? Roxy's on. Nice to see you guys tuning in. But yeah, so that's what I've been buying. And I mean, Alex, you've had that hat forever. So Miss Marvel copied you.
Yeah. But
have you bought any new stuff? We've got any new collectibles, or what are you reading? Anything interesting at the minute?
I actually just ordered some Peacemaker Funkos, but I mean that's not really Marvel, it's DC, But yeah, so I've got like pretty much all those like on the way now, I believe. But other than that, I read a little bit of some Miss Marvel stuff recently. Just kind of getting my feet wet. I'm trying to like read it, I guess, like, because I don't know much about Miss Marvel, so I'm trying to read it with the show. That way I'm kind of going at the same speed of like getting to know the character almost at the same rate, I guess, if that makes sense. So
that is exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So you're reading No Normal?
Yeah, well, I'm not there yet. So basically what I did was I started with the Captain Marvel stuff where she gets like slowly introduced. And so I think there's it's like 17 issues or something like that where she pops up like twice. So like I read through that, and that's where you get the kind of soft introduction where you don't really see her, but you see her, like she's like facing the opposite direction in the panel kind of type deal. And they're, like kind of like hinting that she's coming and she's coming and she's coming. And so now I think, like I'm in like the first few issues of Miss Marvel or something like that. Like, so I'm pretty early on, but
are you reading like the original run, like when they first introduced her? Yeah. Have you noticed the parallels there? There's a lot of parallels between that initial run and what we've seen so far.
Like that scene with I think the vodka. Talking about
the party.
Yeah. That was like almost like right out of the panel. Almost,
There's loads of those as well. I've just read the bit in the mosque where they're going for their prayer and where they say we can't see you, and it's literally in the
partition.
Book, it's exactly the same words. It is like, it's quite spooky actually, and I don't think I've ever seen so many close parallels between a movie and or a movie or a TV show and a comic. It's weird. It really is weird. But anyway, let's not talk too much about Miss Marvel because we've got a little bit of news before we start, Jarin.
Yeah, so we got some, not as much as last week, so we should be able to get through this faster today, unless we have a lot of conversation. But into the SpiderVerse sequel, we know what the villain is going to be. So the villain is going to be Meet the Spot. And the tweet was Meet the Spot, so the Spot's the villain. And it said Miles Morales' most formidable foe yet. And he's going to be voiced by Jason Schwartzman. So
I don't know anything about the Spot.
He can basically do like dimensions and open holes and that kind of stuff. There's even some stuff where I believe, if I remember correctly, Miles goes to punch him, he opens a hole and he ends up punching himself. So it's almost like portals, kind of like Doctor Strange opens a little bit, but he can travel the it's almost like that, but he can travel the multiverse, that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting one, especially since the theme of the name of this sequel is Across the Spider-Verse. It kind of fits in there.
It's kind of like that girl from Incredibles, the second movie.
Yep.
The one that opens little portals.
Yep. Yeah, someone goes, he's a ridiculous villain. So, But yeah, so that's a sequel for that. Other Spider-Man news. Spider-Man is starting to arrive on Disney Plus. It will start coming to Disney Plus UK on June 17th. So you're starting to see Spider-Man content trickle on Disney Plus. Other content coming is the Incredible Hulk, who's also been absent from Disney Plus, is coming as well in Japan on June 17th. So I almost wonder if Disney's getting back the rights to Hulk with these things reverting over Disney Plus now. Other things that are coming over, Into the SpiderVerse and Venom also coming over to Disney Plus. The Venom sequel will not be on Disney Plus yet because Sony has a first look deal with Netflix has a first look deal with Sony. So the Venom, Let There Be Carnage, will go to Netflix first before it eventually trickles over to Disney Plus.
Okay.
So
I wonder if that'll change in the future. I think
it will.
Yeah, that'll probably end up with everything probably just going straight to Disney Plus for them, I would assume.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sure once that deal expires, or if Marvel works, buys them out, because remember Marvel did buy up the Netflix stuff for the Marvel show. So I wonder if Marvel will buy that deal out with Sony or just wait for it to expire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that as well that this means that there's some smoother relationships between these other studios that own the rights to these other characters, which should hopefully see some more collaboration.
Yep.
Or some closer collaboration. Let's just say that. So
it benefits both parties.
Yeah, well, of course it does, and I think that if they've proved that with the Spider-Man movies, that the ones that are set in the MCU, that it can be done.
Yep. Thor: Love and Thunder. So Taika Waititi on Christian Bale. I'd say he's the most sympathetic villain they've had. He's also tested the highest out of any villain that Marvel's had. He later joked, yes, he's a great actor, and the only thing he's done is this film called Empire of the Sun, and that was his last job. He was 11. It's been an incredible journey for him just to kind of help sort of re-kickstart his career. Also, too, Thor: Love and Thunder was quickly approved after Ragnarok. This is interesting. According to Waititi, we got this greenlit over dinner when Ragnarok came out. We pulled into a few cinemas around town and then went to dinner and started talking through ideas with Kevin and the rest of Marvel. So,
wow.
Yeah, and remember that Thor or Chris Hemsworth was not happy after The Dark World, and it seems like Ragnarok also like revitalized his wanting to stay with Marvel because he was kind of not happy after The Dark World. So it's good to see that as soon as Ragnarok came out, they were already spinning wheels going to Love and Thunder.
A lot of people weren't happy after Dark World, let's be honest.
We've spoken about a sympathetic villain before, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
We've spoken about that theme of having a villain who you can sympathise with, and I think that Christian Bale could probably pull off that kind of insane villain who you still kind of sympathise with, but on the other hand, he's actually very, very evil as well, and just relentless. So this is going to be really interesting. His character seems like a bit of a crazy, unhinged, from what we've seen so far. Some of the images we've seen and the sort of short clips seems like that crazy, unhinged type of person. So hopefully they can follow that through. What are you laughing about? Go on.
That one shot of the face where he's like, that's what I'm laughing about.
That's that crazy, unhinged look.
But I do love the yellow eyes, though. They really I feel like they just really show I guess they emote almost for his character, like they show the you should be afraid of this person, especially when you look and everything's just all black and white, and then you just see only the yellow eyes. That's the only color that you see in the screen.
Yeah, I've got my tickets. I've booked them for the Saturday. I couldn't get them for the opening night. I'm working, unfortunately, and I can't get out of it. But the good side to that, the plus side to that, is that I'm going to see it in IMAX, which I missed out on. Multiverse of Madness in IMAX, which I think was a mistake. After watching Multiverse of Madness, I was like, damn it, I should have held out to the IMAX for that. But I was not going to make that same mistake again. So IMAX for me on the Saturday. So can't wait for that one. That's 3 weeks on Saturday. So
you have to see it in IMAX. You have to.
I want to, but if I do, my son won't go to the IMAX place that we have here, that huge screen, because they don't serve ices. And so we went and saw Multiverse of Madness, and he was not happy because they didn't have ices. I'm like, dude, I'll get you an icy afterward, but he has to have his icy and his popcorn. So I'll probably go see. Yeah, I know, either have to smuggle it in, or I'll have to go to our local theater here up the street, see it like in 3D or in D-Box, wherever that stuff they do is there, and then probably go see the second time either by myself or with my wife at the big screen, the biggest screen in the region that we have here in IMAX. So,
nice. Yeah, we sort of got spoiled, haven't we, now? Because now once you see a movie in IMAX, it's like can't really go back to a standard screen, you know. For me, it's the sound. It's the sound. For me. The sound is just incredible in IMAX.
See us here. We have those audio things. I think you're cutting out, Alex, for a second.
Oh.
Yeah, but I'll finish this thought and see if you come back. But here we have like the audio stuff in the regular theater, and it shakes and rumbles, so the audio is pretty good. And here they combine that with 3D in our local theater here, which is pretty cool. But yeah, the audio in IMAX is really good too as well. I think we just lost Alex.
Hopefully, he'll come back on in a minute.
Yep. It's not me today. It's not me today.
To be fair, you're the important one, Joey, because if you're not here, then we're not here. So, I'm not saying Alex isn't important. I hope he doesn't hear that.
Hopefully he comes back here. But in the meantime,
he's strike now that he's heard me say that.
We'll see if he comes back.
He's gone completely now. Carry on, Joey. Where were we at?
Yeah, other Love and Thunder news. On July 7th, select theaters are hosting an 8-hour movie marathon by Marvel Studios titled Marvel GOAT Marathon, Greatest of All Thor. The four-film marathon will include Thor, Thor the Dark World, Thor Ragnarok, and then will conclude with an early showing of Thor Love and Thunder. For those doing the math, that's 476 minutes of screen time centered around the God of Thunder. So, yeah.
Do you know what I'm really looking forward to? Just talking when you was talking there, I was kind of hoping, not that I'm going to go and see that marathon, to be totally honest. I don't think I could do it, but that they would throw in some sort of montage, maybe, of Infinity War and Endgame. So, and that got me thinking, I can't wait for the Legends for Thor.
Yes,
on Disney Plus. How good is that going to be? Like the Hawkeye one was brilliant as well that they brought out. So because obviously we're talking about characters that have been around since the beginning, pretty much.
Yep.
So yeah, the Thor Legends episode is going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that because I think it'd be quite emotional as well, watching his journey and all the things that he's been through. You know, he's lost all his family, all his his friends, and he's lost Stark and he's lost Steve, and it's going to be really interesting seeing that episode. But that's a lot of Thor to do that in a marathon. I'm not sure I've got the stamina for that one.
Yeah, you probably could take a break during the Dark World and come back and Ragnarok and then Love and Thunder. And he is the only one to get 4 solo films, right? Yes, we're getting Captain America 4, but Chris Evans is only in 3 of them as the star. So Thor is the only one to get 4 solo films too. So
yeah. Talking about Dark World though, and while we're talking about Love and Thunder, should we go on? Oh, is he back? Let's wait for him to come back.
Sorry about that. My internet just dropped for some reason. I'm not sure why.
You're fine.
No worries. You're back. We was just talking about there's a Thor movie marathon, and I was saying about how I'm really looking forward to the Thor Legends episode on Disney Plus. I think that'd be excellent. But I was just about to bring up, because we said, we could probably miss out Dark World, like we was joking about earlier. But obviously with Jane coming back in Love and Thunder, is Dark World going to become a little bit more relevant? Is that that she was in, that was the last movie she was really in, wasn't it? So is that going to be more important to go back to? We're going to have to draw back on that movie to see a little bit of her history.
Yep, there's her. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
I was just going to say, and the funniest part too is with the first movie and then Dark World and this movie, this is kind of like her version of a trilogy almost. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is her 3rd movie. So, like, with that being said, it makes me wonder, will this be her one and done movie where she comes in as Mighty Thor, then is done by the end of this movie? If she has cancer or whatever. Or maybe we have her for some prolonged point in the future.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what the effects of her having the ether in her play into this movie as well. So there is some relevance there, and that's a great point. Roxy goes, she's so excited for Christian Bale as Gore. I can't agree more. I love Christian Bale's roles, from The Machinist to American Psycho. He's played some really great roles, and just the way he gets into character.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
The rating it has been officially rated PG-13 due to intense sequence of sci-fi violence in action, language, some aggressive material, and partial nudity. This marks the first time that an MCU project has been rated as such due to partial nudity. Based on the trailer, Himes was blurred out behind could be the culprit of such rating. So that's interesting.
Did you see the that concept Funko of him naked? And he's
no.
Have you not seen it? Oh wow! I'm gonna have to try and find it and post it to the group. There's a concept Funko of him, that scene, but his bum is still blurred out. So there's like little squares on his bum, like actual squares on the Funko.
Nice.
Bum. And I was like, that is brilliant. I'll find it and I'll post it after the show. It's well worth seeing. It is what it is, isn't it? I guess they've got to do it. They've got rules to stick by, and they have to. There's partial nudity in there. It has to be said that is what it is. Did we not see any partial nudity in Eternals?
Hulk split. Ragnarok.
Hulk.
Yeah, we saw Hulk's bucket in Ragnarok, but no, we didn't really see any nudity in Eternals. There was that love scene, but you really didn't see anything.
No. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
All right, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Crazy Rich Asians and the Prince actor Nico Santos has joined the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. He was the black sheep of the family in Crazy Rich Asians, the one that helped with the girlfriend and the friend with all the clothes and that kind of stuff, who befriended her. So he's joined the cast. These maybe reshoots. These could be voice actors. We don't know. And we still don't know who the surprise actor that hasn't been announced yet is. We've added 3 actors now to the cast, but we still don't know who the surprise actor was that James Gunn was talking about, and hopefully we'll find out soon.
Yeah, I don't know the guy you're talking about, so I can't comment. I don't know much about him. So
I think he's also like in Superstore or something too, if I remember correctly. Sorry,
I
just popped in my head. Asian glasses.
Oh, I know the guy. Yeah, I know the guy.
I think he's in Superstore. Yeah.
If he's in Superstore, I know the guy you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, gotcha. Oh, okay. I still don't really have a clue who could play, but yeah, I do know.
Yeah. The Marvels reshoots are happening in August. So Samuel Jackson, he said that he'll be turning to London for reshoots on the Marvels and more work on Secret Invasion. And the more that I think about it, I think Miss Marvel, the Marvels, and Secret Invasion will all have some tie together.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about that later on. But I'm still, that one statement after the closing credits scene about we haven't seen these powers before. I can't stop thinking Skrulls. Anyways, Werewolf by Night. So Michael Giacchino, the director, he said, I've been having a blast. It's an incredibly challenging process. I love it. I have every day. I've been having fun working on it. We're in the middle of it, and hopefully very soon we'll share a lot more about it. Yeah, but there's not much I can say other than I'm having a good time, and I'm working on something I love. So, that's a win-win right there. So this has not been officially acknowledged by Marvel yet either. But we know it's happening. So hopefully Disney Plus Day or San Diego Comic-Con, which there's been mixed reports of if Marvel will or not be at San Diego Comic-Con, keep happening, but we definitely know D23 is in September, and so we should get something by then. Chat here about Cosmo voice, although he's meant to be Russian though. So for the edition
Cosmo, the dog, yeah.
Other news, so almost done here. I think I got 2 more things before I get into this Marvel news. First one of the final news pieces, Ironheart. Mandy Montana is cast in this series as a regular. He's the villain kind of on Good Girls. He's also been in Westworld. And we know there's been chatter of the Hood, Zeke Stain, or could he be another villain? But it sounds like he's coming in the series for possibly to be a villain. We have him and the other Ramirez, or the other actor that they cast, the younger guy. I can't remember his name, but I wonder if they're going to be together and working on something or what. But that's interesting. They added to that cast. Venom 3. Tom Hardy via Instagram has teased that Venom 3 as the last dance. So I wonder if the third film in the trilogy will be him wrapping it up and then moving on, or they're just going to finish this story and focus more on Venom and crossovers. Because I know there's been chatter about Venom and Spider-Man meeting up at some point in a film, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether they go down the route of having the King in Black storyline be a way of merging Venom with Spider-Man and with the Avengers, and having the King in Black storyline, because the King in Black storyline was very much a Venom story, but obviously that was in the books. I've got a feeling they might use that as a way to make it won't be a Venom story, it'll just be an everyone story, but Venom will obviously have a sort of a key role, maybe a larger role for obvious reasons, but but obviously way down the line, we're not talking it soon, but you know, with Gore showing up, that's that link to Null again. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe they'll use that. So, like you said, it might be the last Venom solo movie, but that might not necessarily mean the last of Venom. And I wouldn't mind seeing Tom Hardy as Carrot come over into the MCU. You know, I watched Let There Be Carnage, and while it wasn't great, you know, he's quite entertaining, and you know, I don't mind it. I like the visuals that they use on him. I think it's really good. So.
I just hope that they don't kill him in the third movie. I hope they don't kill Tom Hardy off and then have the symbiote Venom go on to somebody else. Like, I mean, they could have the symbiote go to like Flash Thompson. He could be like Agent Venom or something. But like, I don't really want that in the MCU right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would seem like, I mean, if they actually use Flash Thompson in the MCU, he's so young now. He's like going off to college. You know, like that would make really not a lot of sense. So that's something that you need to do way down the road.
Yeah, and that was my thinking too about Flash Thompson and Agent Venom, because remember that piece of symbiote got left over when Eddie Brock and Venom went back over to their universe at the end of No Way Home. So how's that going to tie into things too? That piece of symbiote that got left over in the MCU. So
yeah, that was left intentionally, wasn't it? It's an intentional little sort of little Easter egg there. So yeah.
Looks like RMC's on. And then, the big news though, I should say the best for last. A Wonder Man series is being developed for Disney Plus with Shang-Chi director Daniel Destin Cretton. It may be playing as a Hollywood satire because he's a stuntman, that kind of stuff. And we know that Daniel Destin Cretton did sign on for additional stuff. We just didn't know what. Well, the news is trickling out that one of his projects that he's working on besides Shang-Chi is going to be Wonder Man. That came out right before we started today streaming.
Yeah, that could be a really interesting genre, that type of movie that they go into there. I mean, Wonder Man's an interesting character and an interesting superhero as well.
Yep.
And he's got a lot of links, hasn't he, with a lot of different people, with Vision and with...
his brother's the Grim Reaper.
Yep. There was a tease of that in WandaVision too.
I'm trying to think of his name as well. The Grim Reaper. So there's loads of links there, isn't there? So and as you say, Joey, a Hollywood satire could be, that could be really cool.
Yeah. So keep an eye on that one to come out. And then switching gears into Miss Marvel, the only piece of Miss Marvel news I have is that the first 2 episodes will be released tomorrow in theatrical format in Pakistan, because there's no Disney Plus in Pakistan. So basically they're doing 3 events of the 6-episode series of theatrical releases in Pakistan. Looks like we have a comment here about Wonder Man. Would love Nathan Fillion. This must be Jamie. Would love Nathan Fillion to finally get to appear as him. Yep. I agree.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. You know what, I was just thinking about what you said there about the Miss Marvel, the 2 episodes being released, and I'm trying to think of how it would feel watching those 2 episodes back to back as a movie, basically, because that's what it is, isn't it? It would be an hour and 20 minutes. It'd be a sort of 2 hour, or nearly a 2 hour, a 2 hour movie, and I think that those 2 episodes would flow together really nicely, actually, in one sitting.
Yep.
I think we've those first 2 episodes are very much like, right, this is what has happened. The next 2 are going to be, this is what's going to happen. And then the last 2 are going to be, now it's happening. Yep. So, yeah.
Are we allowed to go into Miss Marvel a little
Yes,
bit?
we are.
Are we allowed? Are we allowed?
Miss Marvel now.
I wanted to make sure we had no more news.
Nope, that was it. You know when I get into the way I get into is I always do what the current project is that news lasts, so we can just roll into that topic.
Yeah, nice. Go on, Alex. You're really excited, aren't you? You've made notes.
Yeah, well. I was just gonna say one thing, talking about like her use of the powers and stuff in this episode that I really liked is you see like in a lot of these scenes, like take Iron Man when he saves that guy from the fighter jet scene. Like even though it goes horribly wrong, it just ends up working out well, like really well in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
In this second episode, you see her use her powers, and it's like she's not like getting the hang of it. She's struggling. Like she thinks she saved somebody, then he's not actually saved, and she's still struggling with that again. And then he falls, and she does save him, and it's like it's very clumsy. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Do you remember that show, The Greatest American Hero? It was kind of like in the late 70s, early 80s, I think, where he was a superhero. He had powers, but he was absolutely clumsy and terrible at using them.
I've seen that, yeah.
Like every time he landed, he crashed, basically, when he flew. It kind of has, in a good way, it kind of has that feeling because she's the youngest superhero in the MCU now.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of is that awkwardness, that acceptance thing, the whole identity, and her trying to learn that too as well. So that's still playing a theme throughout the series.
Mm-hmm. I did like the whole like running across rooftops and making the little panels and just walking right across and stuff. Yeah. That was a great, very different than like how like in the game and comics and everything, she stretches across almost, and like grabs and steps over and stuff. So,
and speaking of her powers and stuff, go ahead, Andy.
No, I was going to say I really like that as well. And there was a couple of moments in this episode that reminded me, or were little callbacks to scenes that we've seen in the past. So this one was the running, the steps was a bit of a callback to the Star-Lord running on Doctor Strange's, magic
Titan.
things on Titan. Yeah, and there was the obvious one. If anyone's missed this, get out. You're out. And obviously she didn't know. She didn't know it was a callback. It wasn't obvious to her, but it should have been to us. Was the when she was hanging, when Bruno was holding her, and she said, "Just let me go."
Let me go.
And it was Black Widow and Hawkeye on
Vormir.
Yeah, and it was very throwaway almost. And then I thought, oh yeah, ha ha ha, she's done that as a joke. But then when you think about it, she wouldn't know about that.
Yep.
So that's actually just a nice little sort of coincidence, yeah. But it's clearly put in there as a little sort of nod to that moment, and I thought that was really clever, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then back to what you were saying about the powers, Alex. We did see some beginning in this episode, right?
Yeah.
You saw her with the hand and the fist when her and Bruno are in the somewhere in school, like in some theater area, and then you saw it again when she tried to catch the kid falling. You saw her stretch. You saw her hand get big. She really missed him, but you kind of saw a little bit in beginning there.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way in the books as well, and this carries over quite nicely to the show, where she hasn't got the strength to like lift her hand, her big hand. She like can't move her big hand. Her hand gets big, and she's like dragging it along behind her, And it's the same with this. Like she made the big hand and the big hand. She's like, I obviously haven't got super strength then, But yeah, she's great, and I mean she's a typical 16-year-old though, isn't she? She's learning how to use skills and making mistakes, but obviously when she makes a mistake, someone like she tried to save the lad, or she did save the lad, but she made a mistake and lost concentration, which a lot of 16-year-olds do. They haven't got the concentration to stay focused. When a superhero makes a mistake, someone can die. But when you're a 16-year-old and if you're playing on a sports team and you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world, is it? It's I find that whole dynamic really interesting. I mean, I've got a 16-year-old of my own. He's a boy, but still, similar parallels there.
I think the actual band itself is really something important too to point out here, because they talk about like her powers were activated too. Like and so it almost seems like if you separate her in the band, she might still be able to use her powers.
I think she will be.
Yeah, and I can't remember, but that scene where she like has like the embiggening of her nose happen, and then like has like her hand start to glow and everything like that. That in my opinion was almost like her abilities like seeping out. Like she almost has to use her abilities to not make them like appear. Like it's almost like she's like so potent with this like hard light, I guess you can say, as they call it, that like it's gonna, if she doesn't use it, it's gonna start appearing, kind of type thing.
Yeah, because if you notice when her and Bruno were training on the roof, or not on the roof, but when he was getting the food and they're looking at his tablet, he goes, "The powers come from within, not from the Bengal." So I definitely think that Bengal is the parallel for the Terrigen Mist to activate her powers. I almost wonder too that if she can take that off, if she, I'm going to assume she'll still have the powers. Which makes me think that instead of her being Inhuman, because we know there's no Inhumans in here in the MCU, besides what we saw with Multiverse of Madness, that her powers are probably Djinn powers, probably. And I wonder if the replacement for Inhumans will be that she has some kind of Kree ancestry in her. So
I think linking everything and what we brought up earlier, and the Marvels and Secret Invasion and the damage control people and all of this, and all the little theories that we've heard, it's looking like what could possibly happen is the damage control guys, maybe not all of them, but certainly those two, the two sort of detectives as such, they're Skrulls and they're searching for powers, and she's got some sort of Kree lineage in her. And we'll get into the family background in a moment because I think that's really interesting as well. But she's got some sort of Kree lineage in her, and they're sort of studying ancient Krees for their power. So I think that's more than likely, and a very reasonable theory, to be totally honest.
And speaking of damage control, did you also notice they had Stark drones? Those drones that were chasing her, those are Stark drones from Far From Home. So, interesting there.
They're using them, aren't they?
Which I also think that this series might kind of tie into She-Hulk too, because we see that they've got the superhuman law division coming about in She-Hulk. I would imagine that probably works on the opposite side of the DODC. So like they might have like a little bit of a connection here. All that may be informal, but you see what I'm saying? Like,
you've got to have two sides to the coin. You've got to have people that are going to fight for the superheroes, and you've got to have people that are going to sort of prosecute them as such. It's like internal affairs and then a union.
Yeah, exactly.
That looks like what they're sort of trying to develop. The damage control is internal affairs. They're sort of tied to the Sokovia Accords somehow maybe, and then you've got the what's the law firm? It's like 4 names, isn't it, that she works for?
Oh yeah.
I can't remember. I can't remember what it is. It's four names, but yeah, they're the kind of fight in the corner of the superheroes. That's a good shout, Alex. So going into the family history.
Before we get the family real quick, do you want to get into some other call outs from this episode? So we have things like Illuminantes. She calls them at one fair Moss Bros. So we have more bros now in the MCU.
Moss Bros. That was hilarious.
And then another Ant-Man thing, like where her powers Ant-Man like, budget Captain Marvel, Asgardian Dream Light to Thor. And then Alex, you mentioned Hardlight. Wasn't Hardlight X-Men thing from their training? Like the fake training thing, they'd attack and fight. Wasn't that called Hardlight as well? I thought.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is the Black Widow poser. She also did too on the roof. So
the superhero landing.
Yeah. Just some interesting things there about some ties, other things, and some call outs there.
And the Kingo thing too. They talk about the different generations of Kingo.
Yep. I had that in my notes here too. Basically, that's our first Eternals reference in the MCU outside the Eternals.
Yeah.
So, wait a minute. Pardon? I must have missed that. What did they say?
So when they're talking, when her and Cameron are talking, first when they leave the party, they're talking about Bollywood, and then they talk about Bollywood more when they have lunch, and they mention Kingo Senior. In that Kamala's mom has a crush on Kingo, and so basically, are they not aware of Eternals yet in the MCU? They just know of Kingo, but we have that first reference, and that also got me thinking: could that is something else more there? Could that Bengal be an Eternals artifact possibly also? If it's not Kree related, could it be a Eternals related thing?
Is it related to the rings? the 10 rings.
Or that too as well. It could be on that side. It's interesting to see, where that comes from. Because in the comics, that bangle was a family artifact, but it had no powers. It was just a family artifact. It was nothing tied to power. So yeah, with the Kingo thing, I had that in my notes higher. Thanks for calling that out because I almost forgot that. But yeah,
That's a really
the
good
first
shout,
reference.
Yeah, I mean, I heard there was obviously lots of dialogue in those scenes when they was in the car and things like that. To be totally honest, my television isn't the greatest with sound. We have to attach our speaker to it, and to be honest, I didn't bother. So sometimes you don't hear everything clearly. Glad you pointed out. I'm going to go back to and listen to that bit because I'd like to see that. But yeah,
So family.
the family lineage. So really interesting, and I think it was that little conversation that she was having with the Illuminatis.
Yep, there you go.
Was more important than we think. They were saying that the grandmother had an affair, and then 2 affairs, and then she actually killed somebody. And what I'm thinking is, and then the mum was saying about how she shamed the family and etc. etc. I'm thinking the grandmother had another family, or did have an affair and had another family, and Cameron is a part of her family. There was even the joke in there that he was her cousin.
Yeah, and he actually is.
He actually is. Yeah.
So I'm kind of mixed on that thought about because they use different names, right? So Cameron's mother is Namja, and then her great grandmother is Aisha or Aisha, how you say her name. So I'm trying to decide if they're the same person or not. But the shame on the family during partition, the following the trail of stars, killing someone, having a second family, that lady, I think, is the substitute. Because we know Clan Destine is supposedly the villain in this series. I think Cameron's mother, Namja, is the actual replacement for Adam Clan Destine in this series. In that, he was immortal. She looked the same from the visions, from the backseat of the car. So I almost wonder if, who she killed, if it's the same person or there's her people. Is there more than one bangle, maybe 2 bangles, maybe, and they have one and she has the other? Because I'm kind of, we're going to find out soon, but it's just interesting that the different names and the mom shaming doesn't want to talk about it. So it's definitely interesting with that.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking that maybe the vision was the grandmother and she was trying to sort of talk to Kamala. But the mum, Cameron's mum, is her granddaughter. So like Kamala's mum's half sister. No.
Oh, that could be a good idea. Yeah.
Half someone. But yeah, and they just look the same because they're related. That's the granddaughter.
Yes. So her grandmother would be her half sister then, and then she'd be like a half grandma to Kamala's mom.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of what I was thinking, that these families got split, and the other family embraced the bracelet and the powers and their Kree heritage and all those kind of things, and the Kamala's mum's family didn't.
And they forgot about it almost and just kind of ignored that history and just went on. And
that's it. They both went their separate ways. One family sort of, let's say, embraced it, the other one didn't. Maybe the other one didn't understand it completely. Maybe they didn't. Maybe the grandmother was trying to do something and she sort of sacrificed herself. I don't think the grandmother's bad. I think she's good, and I think she sacrificed sort of knowing her family to keep them safe.
Yeah.
And I think that's who she's trying to. I think her grandmother's trying to speak to Kamala through that kind of those visions. Yeah. And Cameron's family are bad, I think, and they're trying to maybe get the bangle. Maybe there's 2 bangles, like you say, Jared. That's a good idea. Maybe they've got to kind of join them up to have ultimate power or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's the angle that they're going down, and I think that's really interesting. I think that's really good.
And what's interesting too is I wonder if Namja killed the great grandmother, and the visions are kind of ancestral plane type tie to kind of talk to her type of thing. But also too, Cameron's not a new character. He's from the comics, but in the comics he wasn't a human. He was an Inhuman that was part of like an evil faction that were trying to take over humans. So I wonder, like I said, I think this is all Clan Destine for everything that's been out there, and that they're basically taking in humans make them clandestine, make them Djinn powers, and they're that evil faction in that area with Camran and his mother Namja.
Trying
Yeah.
to build like a little secret army almost kind of type deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
here we
really-
go. From the chat though, there was a train noise. What's the train noise in those visions? Also, what's the train begins with the story because she didn't make it on the train. Her I think her dad made it on the train, but the daughter didn't, who's the great grandmother. And so that's where they saw the trail of her stars. And that trail of stars, could that be her on the platforms like Kamala does when she was like going across the air? Similar parallels there.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're going to see a lot of that. I think we're going to see that. I think we might see it in flashbacks or in visions, or when she's talking to her grandmother. Her grandmother will show her the images. You know, I wonder whether that's like you said, that plane that she was on when she first got her powers, where she fell back and there was the purple kind of look to everything. Maybe that's all the people. That's her family. You know, that's her ancestors, maybe. But yeah, I think I'm really interested in that family history and that family heritage and how that split happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious that there's something that's not being told and not being completely like revealed here, and it's obvious it's coming. But it seems it's almost, and the only thing I can kind of relate it to is, and I hate to say this, but it reminds me of like the Assassins versus the Templars and the Assassin's Creed games, like almost is what's probably been going on. Like there's probably been like people behind the scenes fighting over things for God knows how long, you know, and yeah, they've just been going at it and the war continues.
That's a really nice parallel there that you've drawn there, Alex. That's a really good point. Yeah, like one family or one side kind of, they both believe the same thing, but one kind of believes something slightly different. And I guess actually that is echoing the religious side of it. You know, because religion is really, I don't want to get into a religious debate here, but obviously religion is religion, but then there's kind of different arms of religion, isn't there? You can be, you know, that faith or this faith or this faith. And it's almost like this power is one thing and one family kind of thought this of it and another family thought slightly different of it. And that's kind of taken them down a different route completely. And they've just gone further and further apart from each other as time's gone on. And that's the Templars and things like that.
I also wonder too is how did her grandma get the bracelet back? Because if the grandma, which at the time was a little girl, and this whole thing happened, and her father made it on the train, and the mother went off across the stars, how did her grandmother get back in possession of the bracelet? Did the mother return at some point to the family, and that's where the shame comes from? There's got to be more there because it's interesting that her dad wants to talk about it, but her mom wants nothing to do with it. So I almost wonder if during that whole partition thing of when India broke up and became Pakistan and Bangladesh and all that kind of stuff, did she end up coming back with the family? Like, did she meet with this other person to survive and have the family? But then when she was able to come back and find them, she came back because how did they get in possession of that family artifact?
Brought this whole new family back with her. Yeah.
What if it was one of those things where she used the bangle or the band or whatever, and it actually just activated her powers, and then the mother at that point leaves the band, and then it just stays in the family, and she still has her powers.
That could be it too. That's a good point. That she activated her, then she left it, and then
one of those things like, hey, I'm going to be with this other family, but, you know, here's something to remember me by. Like, maybe if y'all have an Inhuman one day or you know, like somebody with
the proper genes.
Yeah, which I actually think that they may not use the term Inhuman. I think they might stick with that new human thing in this. I think that would be kind of interesting from that Infinity storyline where Thanos detonates the Terrigen Mist.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I could totally see that happening. Like just, you know, kind of like, oh, you keep this and then maybe one day we'll be back for it kind of type deal.
There's it's still striking up those parallels between Turning Red, little bit of Encanto as well. Actually, that kind of, you know, if your power's been activated yet, or they haven't been activated, or you have got powers, you haven't. Look, what you just said there, Alex, about if they have an Inhuman or whatever you want to call them, it's almost like, look, we know that this is in our DNA, this is in our genes, but will you have will you give birth to somebody that has got the ability to have the powers? You know, everyone has to kind of try the bracelet on. It's like, yes, I've got powers, or no, I haven't. You know, but someone will at some point.
It's that like latent gene thing. It's kind of like they talk about the X gene thing in the with the mutants and the X-Men movies. And I think in the movies they try and like really nail it down to like it comes down through like the mother's lineage or something like that. So they're like, you know, the mother is where people are getting the X gene from. So we know like it's normally on the mother's side, the maternal side, that you get that gene. So something similar here, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, also, too, speaking of the family thing, I am loving the family dynamic in this story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's great. There, a lot of stuff still pulled from the pages to the screen, and it reminds me of some of my in-laws as well. So I'm loving this whole family dynamic.
Yeah, it's really interesting just seeing a family in the MCU. We haven't really seen, you know, that kind of mum, dad, son, daughter, you know, siblings. We've seen little bits of it, you know, with Hawkeye, but we're a fly on the wall in their house, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Same with Ant-Man.
Yeah, it's similar. We had a little bit of it, but and we have a little bit with Clint as well, and you know, obviously we've got the relationship between Peter and Aunt May, but we're really involved in this family. I already feel like we know this family more than we know, let's say, Clint's family, for example. And I get the whole point of the fact that Clint's family was supposed to be a secret. Nobody knew about it. I understand that. But my point being is that we know quite a lot about this family. Like you say, we're understanding their family dynamic, which is it's really interesting. And they're all quite I mean, the dad, how likable is the dad? He's just, I mean, my son was absolutely creasing up when he was talking about when Nakia was asking him and basically guilt tripping him into voting. And then you can see his face like it's dropping. Go on. Look at what Mark's just said there. Go on, Joe. I'll let you read.
This convo was kind of blowing my mind. This is so good. I love the idea of Kamala being a sleeper agent, essentially with her powers. So. So having the powers, but not knowing she's got the powers. They're just dormant in her. The school counselor here as well. Enjoying the school counselor a lot. Absolutely terribly funny analogies. Yes.
I was going to bring him up. I was going to say, I mean, again, I was going to talk about Imani Vellani. Is that her name? Yeah. You pronounce her name? I was going to talk about her. I'll talk about her in a minute. But yeah, the school counselor. Is he the head counselor or is he the headmaster? I don't know what he is, but
he's that school guidance counselor.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He's so funny. That conversation he had with Bruno was just excellent. The way that he tries to make an analogy, but it's only an analogy that it matters to him, you know. He's very, very good. And he's cat poster in the back, hang in there.
And Roxy's saying she loves Nakia and Bruno. And I just want to give a shout out to Dave too, because Dave posted in the spoiler chat about the Caltech thing where Bruno got accepted to, all that kind of stuff. Reed Richards, other stuff. You know, other smart people have gone there, so it's pretty good. For sure. But just going back to that, like we'll wrap the conversation up in a second. The girl who plays Kamala, Imani Vellani, is superb. She's absolutely superb. I think she's just what an absolute talent she is. She's killing it. You know, and they said, and they said that she's a fangirl in real life, just like Kamala is in Marvel and the MCU, and that's how one of the things that attract them, because I guess she opened her closet up and just had tons of stuff out there, and you know the way that she goes back and forth with Kevin Feige about the multiverse designation and about Black Bolt and other things too. You know, I'm just loving it.
If you watch that A Fan's Guide to Miss Marvel on Disney Plus, they actually show, I think when she was like a lot younger, she went to like a thrift store and got a bunch of like stuff, like a blue dress and stuff, made her own Miss Marvel costume. It's actually pretty good cosplay, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's pretty spot on. And I was looking at it and I was like, wow, like that's actually pretty good. And it reminds me of like the classic Loki costume. Like, it's kind of like in that style, or it's kind of like that, you know what I'm saying? Where it's kind of cheap, almost kind of
like that homemade feel.
Yeah. But I mean, it still looks really good. It's kind of like really classic too. So like, I don't know. Like she did an awesome job with it. Is what I'm saying. But yeah, she basically is that person that she's playing.
Yeah. Which then makes it easier to play the person, doesn't it? Because you
Yep.
just play yourself, which is when we know. I mean, not just in MCU and Marvel movies, but in most movies, when the character is close to the actor in their demeanor and not necessarily look. I mean, look helps, I guess, but they kill it because it's just them being them. And she's just an absolute revelation in my book. I think she's excellent. One of the standout characters of this whole phase.
She's
The
only
old
19 years old. That's too.
How old is she?
19 years old.
Excellent.
And
Very
you know
good.
what's funny is Miss Marvel as a character, Kamala Khan. She came out in 2013 too.
Yeah.
Like
15.
so,
I think it was before. I think it was after that, wasn't it? Was it 2015?
I think it was around that 2013, in between that time, maybe 2014.
yeah,
I
I think that's when they gave her like first few cameos and stuff
Yeah.
like that was around 2013. But
Right.
like you know, like let's be honest, like how often do you see like a comic character like hit the screens as quick as this has and such a likable force too. Like this is a good show, and for it to be such a relatively new character, like you know, like we see like Harley Quinn as an example, but who just recently got a movie, but she's been a character for 30 years. That's a a character that came out, like basically in my lifetime, like right, like basically around the time I was born. So it's that kind of idea, like for me, I think that this is a relatively new character that's hit screens and it's done a very good job.
February 2014 was our first solo issue.
Right, there we go. Yeah, I wouldn't say relatively new, Alex. I would say it is new. 2014. But as we said last week, Marvel has always been about representing its readers and representing its fan base, and that's exactly what they needed to do quickly because the world has changed very, very quickly. Even in the last 10 years, the world has changed quickly, and they needed to change quickly with it. And I think they've done that, and I think this is excellent. I hear a lot of people whining, to be totally honest, about how there's this sort of why are they bringing in so many females, or why are they bringing in so many ethnic minorities, or why are they doing this? Well, because most comics were written in the 1960s when it was just all white males. Like, don't be so stupid. This is, and I tell you what, it's been absolutely brilliant watching this. And this girl is an absolute revelation. She's gonna change the face of the MCU. I think. I really do.
Some comments here. Iman is so great. I haven't enjoyed a Marvel show this much since Loki, and then Roxy. Perfect casting, which I agree. I thought RDJ was the perfect casting for Tony Stark. I think she is even a better casting than that for Miss Marvel.
So a lot of people call Tony Stark like the heart of the MCU. I actually think that she might be like the new heart of the MCU moving forward, because she's kind of got that really like good, like she's really good at building a rapport with people, like like as a character, as a person, like so.
Yeah. And she's just good, isn't she? Yeah. She's just good. She wants to do good. That's it. Right. We're going to wrap this up, guys. So just lastly, before we go, going to be kicking off our little Thor Love and Thunder competition in the next week or so. So keep an eye out on the page for that one. What are you laughing about?
I have no idea what the competition is.
No, you don't. You don't have to.
Okay.
Nobody does yet. Nobody does.
Someone's like, what?
I'm going to kick it off. Nobody knows anything about it. It's my secret. But that's going to be kicking off very soon. Guys, it's been a pleasure.
Real quick before we go, since we will not be streaming on Sunday because, again, I'll be on holiday, but we will be back on the 26th streaming. So...
Yep, perfect. All right then, guys. Well, Jaren, have a lovely holiday.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and we'll see you in a week and a half.
All right.
Take care,
guys,
Alex. Take care. Well done, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell them about the time we faced doom?
All right. Well, as I remember,
At Avenger headquarters,